Hi guys, so today we're going to go through some stretches to assist in relaxing and lengthening our pelvic floor. So we're going to work externally around all the muscles that link in towards the pelvic floor. So we'll start off with our breath. Our breath is really important in pelvic floor function. So if you imagine your diaphragm is your big breathing muscle here, it's underneath the ribs, and you've got your pelvic floor down the bottom here. So those two work together. As we inhale, the diaphragm comes down. So our lungs fill with air and the diaphragm comes down. It pushes all the tummy contents down and so gives a lovely stretch down to the pelvic floor. So when we inhale, the diaphragm moves down and the pelvic floor gets a lovely stretch down. And as we exhale, that diaphragm comes back up and it brings the pelvic floor up with it. So every time you breathe in, the pelvic floor is getting a stretch down. Every time you breathe out, it's getting a little contraction back up. So that's why it's really important, even when we're doing our exercises or throughout daily life, to incorporate the breath. If we tend to be a little bit maybe more stressed, or we're breathing a little bit more shallow, which we do generally towards the end of our pregnancies because baby has pushed us up and the diaphragm has no room to move down, the pelvic floor can get a little bit stuck here. And so the pelvic floor can sometimes be a little bit more rigid or can become tight. That can happen in other conditions as well, for example, in endometriosis or in pain or in general just people with stress. So it's a really good way, or people with pelvic girdle pain in pregnancy. So it's a really good way of trying to release the tension through the pelvic floor, and if we can release that tension, the pelvic floor has the potential to become stronger as well. Okay, so let's get started on our exercises. We'll begin with our breath, just so that we understand how to get that pelvic floor to move just with our breath, and then we'll use that breath in each of the stretches that we do. So when you begin, take your hands, put one on your belly, and I would suggest take the other one and almost wrap it around your ribs. So you've got your elbow here on this side of the ribs, and you've got your hand across on the other side. So as you take a breath in, you should feel the ribs move out into the elbow and the hand here, and you should also feel the belly move out into the hand. So we take a breath in, and we breathe out. So on the inhale, you should feel everything expands outwards, and on the exhale, everything should move gently back in. If you really struggle with that, you could use your band. You could use your band here around the ribs. It's cold. Really gently just hold it, and then imagine you're trying to breathe into that band. So you inhale to burst the band open, so out into the ribs, and you exhale to release. So the band is there for feedback. Inhaling as if you're trying to burst the band open. Feel those ribs expand. And then exhaling, notice the band comes in as the ribs soften down. You could also do that around the belly if you found the belly wasn't moving as you're inhaling. Just pop the band here for feedback. And then imagine you're trying to breathe into that band. So inhale into the band. And then exhale, notice the tummy come back. Okay? That's the first thing. If you really struggle with that, it's a really good idea to spend a bit of time during your week practicing that breathing. Okay. The last thing is, as you inhale, you're feeling all of this midline expand and stretch. I want you to take your attention down to your pelvic floor now and imagine it's doing the same. Don't push, but don't try and push down or do anything like that. Just try and take your awareness down to what's happening at the pelvic floor. This can be really difficult if you're not really used to doing this, so just take it easy on yourself and it will come with time. So again, you can inhale, notice that the pelvic floor gets a little bit of length, and as you exhale, notice that it gently recoils. Okay. So let's take that into each of the stretches. Let's lay ourselves down onto our backs, and we'll begin with some back stretches. So lying flat, left leg straight, right knee up to the chest, and just hug the knee in. And we'll start off with a little inhale through the nose, out through the mouth. So try and stay in each of these stretches for 3 breaths. And then switch sides. So again, all I want you to focus on is imagining that tummy, pelvic floor are one, and noticing as you inhale that both get a very gentle stretch, outwards, downwards, and notice on the exhale they both just recoil gently back upwards. Now we'll take both legs, scoop them in. You can have the toes together and the knees apart, and we'll just focus again on the breath. From here you can do just a little rock, gently knees to chest to open out the lower back a little bit more. Or you can do a little rock from side to side. You'll just feel the muscles soften in the lower back against the mat below. From here we're going to move into a happy baby pose. So this is a nice pose again for opening through that pelvic floor, just trying to give those muscles a little bit of a length. So I'm going to turn and face the camera so you guys can see me better, but you stay as you are. This always looks a little bit dodgy on camera, I think. So excuse my angle, but here we go. You're going to be in the same position, but this time you're just going to open up the legs. So reach your feet up towards the sky. Then you're going to reach both hands to the ceiling in the middle here and bring the hands down in between the legs. Then take both of those hands and reach them around to the outside of your ankles. And then if you can hold on to the bottom of your feet, or you can just stay here at your ankles if that's the mobility you've got. So totally up to you. And then from there, you can stay there at the start if you want. Just gently move the knees apart, so almost push the elbows out. So you should feel a little bit more of an opening through here. And then you'll try and open the knees a little further. So try to straighten the knees a little more. So you should feel a really strong stretch down through the back of the thigh here in the hamstring, a little bit in through the groin on the inner thigh. And then now you're going to focus a lot on that breath. So inhaling through the nose, out through the mouth. So really being aware of the pelvic floor expanding and lengthening on the inhale, and recoiling back inwards and upwards on the exhale. One more breath here. And then we'll bring the legs in and draw the arms out and just hug the knees to the chest to finish that stretch. Okay, stay as you are. We'll go into a twist for the lower back just to loosen that out. So just bring the arms out at shoulder height, or just below shoulder height. Feet on the mat. Glue your knees together and your feet together, and then we're just going to drop the knees over to the right side and look to your left. If you want a stronger stretch, you can straighten out that top leg and allow the weight of it to rest on the bottom leg. Just make sure to keep your left shoulder down on the mat. And back in. We're going to switch sides. So you're going to drop the knees to the left, look to your right. And again, you can straighten out the top leg if you want a stronger stretch, but allow the weight of the leg to drop down into the bottom leg. And back to center. Okay, from here we're going to work a little bit on our bum and on our groin. So we can do the bum stretch in two ways. I'm going to show you both and you can decide which one you prefer. So one is like this. We stay as we are. Take your left heel over onto your right knee. Sometimes that's enough for some people. Particularly with the history of pelvic pain, you might find this is enough. You can already feel a stretch through here in the hip. If you can't, I want you to just really think about rolling that hip outwards. So it's almost as if it's trying to go in a clockwise direction. It's turning this direction, the hip, as if you were almost trying to see the sole of your foot. If you don't feel enough of a stretch there, then you're going to take both hands, reach them down and grab your right thigh and hug it up towards you. So you can have your hands underneath the knee, or you can have them in front of it, and then hug in. Just make sure here that your neck isn't up like this. If it is, maybe pop a pillow underneath, or you can do the alternative stretch that I show you in a second. Okay. And again, you're just trying to really feel an opening here in the bum, all around the hip. Sometimes if you're very tight here in the groin, you feel this in the groin a little as well, but just focus on your breathing Imagine that pelvic floor opening, lengthening, stretching, all tension and softening. And then we'll drop that leg and we'll switch sides. So again, pick whichever level is more comfortable for you. Get the foot up first and tighter on this hip. You're going to roll out, so this time it's moving in an anti-clockwise direction almost. Think about the whole leg rolling that way, as if you're trying to see the sole of your foot. And then if that's not enough of a stretch for you, reach down and hold onto the thigh. You can either hold behind or in front. And again, just make sure that the shoulders are relaxed and that the head is relaxed. And we'll drop the legs back down. Okay, let's come over and do our alternative bum stretch. So come over onto all fours. We'll start off in this position. You're going to take your right, we're going to stretch our right first. So take your right knee forwards. Bring that right foot over in front of the left thigh. And then slide the left leg out behind. And then you're going to drop down either onto your forearms, or you can stack your fists and rest your head. Or if you're a little bit more flexible, you can go all the way down onto the mat. So focus back in again on the pelvic floor, belly, inhale and noticing that expansion. Exhale and noticing that recoil. Bring the hands here either side of the head, and we're just going to lift the chest, just to introduce a little bit of a back bend. And then we'll come forward, come back onto all fours. Nice to do a quick child's pose here just to transition. And then over to the other side. So left knee forward, flip the foot over in front of the right thigh, slide the right leg out behind, and then down you go again. So pick whatever level you want. If you're breastfeeding and boobs are in the way, you can just take them and slide them on the inside of the knee, or just stay stacked up here. Totally up to you. So pick whatever level you're comfortable with, and again, you want to feel the stretch now around the left buttock. One more breath. And then hands here again, we'll just introduce a little back bend, so just lift up, little stretch, and then forward, and back onto all fours. And then we're going to come into a groin stretch, and we're going to do this one in standing. I showed you one in week 1 where we did it in this position down on the mat, but I'm going to show you one in standing. This is a really nice stretch for inside of the thigh, so the groin area, which links right up into the pelvic floor. It's also a really nice stretch if you've had pelvic girdle pain during your pregnancy, particularly if it was pain here at the front. So you'll need a countertop for this, so in your kitchen or something. We're just going to use the picture here. You're just going to rest here on your countertop. You're going to keep the back nice and straight. You can even rest the head if you want. The legs need to be wide apart, so wider than hip distance. And then you're just going to stay in this position, legs straight. You just shift the hips over to the right. And you'll feel a big strong pull up the inside of the left groin. And then you shift the hips over to the left, and you feel a big strong pull on the right. So I'm going to show you that from the back. It's a really small little move, but a strong stretch. So if I were like this, resting, legs are apart. Don't feel any stretch yet, but the legs are wide apart. And then all I do is shift my hips to the right. Tiny move. I haven't bent my legs. Now I feel a huge stretch, particularly up here at the top into my left groin. And now I'm going to switch to the left. Ooh, really tight on the right. You stay here for a couple of breaths and then shift. And shift. Just make sure that your toes are pointing straight ahead, that you haven't turned them out, so make sure they point straight ahead. your legs are nice and wide apart, and that you keep the knees straight when you do that stretch. Okay, as with all your stretches, you could hold them a little bit longer if you wanted to, so anywhere up to a minute for your stretches is acceptable. 30 seconds would be lovely, or just really try and focus on getting a couple of good breaths in while you're doing them. Okay, hope they help. Bye.